Okay, we're ready to go on to the advanced section of the Ultimate Rock Guitar Guide. And we're going to start with more on rhythm guitar and power chording. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use a technique known as fifth in the bass. We talked about how a power chord is derived from two notes, the root and the fifth. That's what a power chord is, a root and fifth. In E, if you play E, the fifth is B. So those two notes together make a root fifth E5 power chord. And you can expand that to three notes. If you put the fifth in the bass, that would be the B note, which is the fifth. E is the root, B is the fifth. To put the fifth in the bass, that means the way you voice the chord, how you fret it on the guitar, is that the fifth, the B note, would be the lowest note sounded. So if we play an E5 chord here, 7th fret on the A, 9th fret on the D, E, B, we can put a B below it, and that's known as an E5 power chord with the fifth in the bass. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one of the techniques I used in playing that rhythm part, as you may have noticed, I was pumping the low E pedal tone, and I was picking it very quickly, and it was basically using the same technique as something that's known as tremolo picking. What tremolo picking is where you alternate pick as fast as possible, really. So if alternate picking on the low E string is like that, you want to build it up till it gets very, very fast. You can also use palm muting when you do that to get the sound of those 16th notes or 32nd notes, whatever they really turn out to be, to sound more clear. Another technique I used at the end of that little musical example was when I got to the E5 chord at the end, I didn't just play the bottom three strings. What I did was I strummed across all the strings, but I mute the G string because I do want this to create the sound of an E5 power chord. The only notes I want to hear are E notes and B notes. So when I fret this chord, the bottom side of the ring finger rests lightly on the G string in order to mute it. So I can strum across all the strings, but I won't hear the G string. I'll hear all the other strings. All right, here's another example of me putting the fifth in the bass in root fifth power chords, or fifth root fifth power chords in this case. This is going to be played in the style of sort of stoner rock of Queens of the Stone Age, or maybe a little Pantera. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the coolest things about using these fifth in the bass power chords on the bottom three strings is you can move just one finger to switch from one type of power chord to the next type of power chord. So if we were to play a fifth in the bass E5 power chord like we started with, all you have to do is bring your ring finger down to get a B5 power chord. Now we have the notes B, F sharp, and B, root, fifth root for B. You take that ring finger off and go back to an index finger bar. We've got B, E, B, and that's an E5 power chord. E5, B5. And it's very easy to switch between these two chord types as you're playing a chord progression. So in this next example, I'm going to emphasize this kind of chord movement going from chords like E5 to B5, B flat 5 with the 5 in the bass, the F in the bass, to F5, C5 with the G in the bass, to G5. Here it is. 1, 2, 3. All right, now let's move this fifth in the bass power chord concept over to the next string group. We saw earlier we could play fourth string root fifth power chords, which are derived from the D open position form. You could slide that up to here, as we saw. That would be a G5 power chord, G, root, D fifth, G, root. To put the fifth in the bass of this chord, you just have to bar your index finger over one string. So what you can do here is exactly like we were doing before, going from fifth in the bass power chords like this, like a D5 power chord with A in the bass, and then bring the ring finger down to sound A. What we can do with this voicing is we can play index, index, pinky, and this is fifth, root, fifth power chord, so it's a G5 power chord with the fifth in the bass. And you can bring your ring finger down to get a power chord with the root in the bass, and that would be D. So you go from a G5 power chord, fifth in the bass, to D5 power chord, root in the bass. Here's an example of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, here's another example of that same thing. This one's sort of in the style of Metallica, Megadeth kind of a thing. 1, 2, 3, 4.